What are they called, those chocolates? So you've obviously got the item there. I don't know whether Will or Bernard wants to add anything to it.
Ni hao.
Ni hao, Gambay.
No, I'm happy to answer any questions if people are of the mind to do so, but I think everything else is fairly straightforward.
Yep.
Other than I'll just confirm what is more or less suggested in the resolution. To do nothing is to be going backwards, in my viewpoint. And I think we should strike while the iron is hot in most of the suggestions in there.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions or queries?
Well, from my point of view, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to be negative all the time. This is not a report. This is something that's been put together that talks about when we started going to China, the stats from China, who's been to China. The report tells us nothing what you actually did while you were in China. For instance, if we look at Wednesday, you had a meeting with the Municipal Government Foreign Exchange Office. What happened there? What was the outcome? What was the report? There's nothing in this report that tells me what you actually did. And I want to raise the issue over this trip because when I've asked for information, it would appear that, and I know Chloe's at the back of the room that will assist, this was received in our office, I think about the 21st of March, or that's when the invitation was. I think it may have been the night of our last council meeting, quite late it arrived, if not a couple of days before. However, as councillors were advised on the 9th of April that trip was about to take place. Now, I wrote to you, Mr. Chairman, and asked for an itinerary. You mentioned at the time that you, with the 9th of April email to us, that you may have expenditure of $5,000, which was to be internal to going to another sister city, which you said would come from the mayoral fund. I then responded to you to ask me what does the mayoral fund cover. You then came back and said no, it will come from the sister city fund. Now we've got to the date today, well over a month later. There's been no publicity, no press announcement, no nothing, and a report, quite frankly, that tells us nothing.
Right, well, we can do up another report if you want of what we actually did on those days and what we talked about. We've certainly got the notes of those if councillors want that.
I think to be fair, the report actually does cover what we did because if you go to pages 14/3, 14/4, all of these things, and I'm not going to list all the bullet points, you can count them, that's what we discussed.
If you want more detail on those things.
Well, what I'm saying is, normally when you go away on a trip like that, you come back with an itemised report based on what you did, when you did it. I know it states here some of the people that you've met, but what were the outcomes? I can read, as has just been stated, that whole list that goes for a couple of pages. It doesn't actually give me any real information.
So none of the proposed actions and the specifics of the meetings doesn't give you any information?
So effectively, if we look down on page 14/4, you have adequate. Ensure that the members and staff are trained and resourced as appropriate. Example, Chinese business cards. Who did you discuss that with while you were in China?
Through the chair, I'll answer that one. Became pretty apparent, and we had this with our China training prior to departure, that we've had this with inbound delegations as well. It's really important to have Chinese business cards. Actually, a lot of the Chinese people that we met with commented on how professional it was. It's obviously not that common for other people to do so. So that's simply a lesson learned out of this trip that in future when we're hosting inbound or outbound delegations, that's one of the simple things that we can do to put our best foot forward.
Stand by my previous statements.
Right, any other questions or queries? Councillor Cousins?
Through the Chair, just a couple of things I wanted to know. What are their key investment drivers? What are they keen to do from a business point of view? Did you do anything while you were there in that regard?
Yep. So a couple of things. So obviously with Shelsting, it's really anchored around the investment that they've got here. So that's the $4.5 million block of land that they've bought out at Kinloch. So a lot of discussion that we had with both the municipal government and the Shelsting Association was around that. And that's really good to have actually a project in the district which you can anchor. A lot of general discussion, as you see, on both 13-3 and 13-4, around things like tourism. So look at things like digital screens. They talked about putting together tourism packages, educational exchanges. That's where having Tūwhare Tau was a huge help. So we've got Sujo actually coming out in September, bringing a cultural delegation to our museum. So I'll sort of put it into those sort of 6 categories around diplomatic, economic, cultural, education, environmental and social. But as you can see, a lot of it is more economic.
Did you have much to do with their, I suppose, supposedly world-changing new city industrial zone? Did they talk much about that at all? Or?
We've been to that.
Yeah.
Sujo and economic. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And what are the key industry that they've run out of there?
Main one they've got in SIP, which is Sujo Industrial Park, is they've going to join. This is 20 years old now, 25 I think. With Singapore, and that's predominantly high tech industry. So obviously Singapore's the size of Lake Taupo. They don't have any land. You then go out to Sujo Newtown, which used to be farmland, or it was actually old business land as well. They've done a huge clean-up project, so they're really trying to balance how do they move more toward a high-tech economy. On the flip side, how do you deal with environmental challenges? So some of the discussions we have with them around things like the Lake Taupo Protection Trust. So you just got to see the colour of their waterways to know why they'd be interested in that. If you look at our lake.
Through the chair.
Finally, what dialect do they speak?
The Shaoxing, and from my understanding, the Shaoxing and Sujo were slightly different. Yeah.
It's woo.
Didn't need to ask the question.
Chairman, could I then retract some of my earlier statements from what I've just heard? It's a pity that wasn't included in this report, which would have given me a better understanding of what you actually went, saw and talked about. The resolution's not long enough, so there will be a press release under pointing out the fact that you went on this trip, this is what you achieved, and this is the hopeful outcome. Would that be correct? Rather than the resolution says, just received the report.
As I repeat what I said before, about 30 pages of stuff downloaded with MFAT. I'm not too sure. Really, we could just have a link and save yourself a couple of trees. The forest managers wouldn't have to trim for us.
I guess the point of the discussion is if we're going to continue to support this relationship, we just need round the table to understand what the priorities are and what the challenges are. And to be honest, I don't get that from this report. You might have captured all the points, but there's no timings or no key focuses or key learnings. And often it's that personal report that gets written on how you experienced it. Like, I've just learnt more now listening to you speak than I did reading this entire report. So just if we can find a way to wrap that up, so as we move forward with this relationship, we understand collectively what it is we need to do.
Yep, certainly. And so from my perspective, just ask if you've got questions. You've got my number. Secondly, there's things that I wouldn't put in this report that I, because we've gone and gone offshore around some of the challenges that China have got, because I just don't simply think it's appropriate to have it, in a public report, basically. Yeah.
I guess as councillors too, we need to be aware that we've got real investment happening in China. Shanghai Pingswing, they've procured property, albeit one still subject to OIA approval, but that is a major product from New Zealand, or product of New Zealand. They're going to be right here on our doorstep, so we need to understand them and know their customs. You've got Rainbow Holdings, who have purchased geothermal land. You've got the LJ Group, who have purchased the large property at Kinloch. They've actually made physical investments, and it's happening. It's actually happening. So it's not like a lot of other sister city arrangement, or it might do, or might this, and that might happen, and da-di-da-di-da. This is actually happening. So we need to get all ourselves up to speed with what's happening over there. Now, whatever your political views are, they're your views. I'm sure the rate of investment by China into New Zealand, something's going to happen shortly on a national level. But these guys are operating, and we're getting calls every day, queries every day about the Chinese investment, whether it be the Crayford Farms, Lochinvar Station, or whatever. So, it is a big deal. So we need to.
Chairman, could I then come back with an answer as to why this invitation was received in March, yet we weren't told about it till the 9th of 9th of April? Because isn't there a clause in the standing orders in regards of action is taken without the sanction of council?
Well, I'm not too sure. The first date we couldn't attend because we had LTP, is that right, Chloe? Yes. So they rescheduled the date.
The original invitation was to attend, I think it was the 20th, was the request for the Great U Mausoleum celebration. Unfortunately, because of LTP discussions, we couldn't send a delegation at that stage. And so it was basically, we went to and fro with the Foreign Affairs Office, with Shaoxing to look at potential dates from there, which was when we came to the date that we did. As you can see, it's a very short time frame in terms of the turnaround. This is very common when we're dealing with China, that we get requests for something to happen within the month, and it happens when we have delegations come down here as well. So that's the timing.
So on the itinerary that I've got here, it's the 28th of April.
Correct.
Okay. So the original invitation came in March.
Correct.
And the invitation that I saw on the information I received after the 9th of April talked about that 4,000 year celebration of the guy that developed the whatever. Okay. Yes. So the point I'm making, even if that taking that into account, and remember that the delegation was away during our last council meeting, why as councillors were we not informed prior to the 9th of April? Even if the first invitations, and you said, well, we can't make it or they changed quickly, we were not asked what we thought. Now, for instance, the mayoral fund, it transpires by the information on here that it was only $3,000 for accommodation, visas, gifts, etc. So does that mean we're actually $2,000 under? Because the original emails we got as council said it would be for the visit to the second sister city while in China. But my main concerns are, as a council, we weren't. If it was important, we could have called an extraordinary meeting for an hour or two, which we've done in the past. That's really my bone of contention. Why weren't we told, and why wasn't it made public? Sorry, when I'm looking at speed, I'm not looking at you necessarily.
No, I'm happy to answer in terms of a memo that was sent through to David and Rob in terms of the groups setting up. I do not know off the top of my head what date that was done, apologies. But Rob, you might want to, Rob or David, you might want to talk to that.
I'm not so sure, we just responded when we got the invite, and so 3K for 5 people delegation I think was very good value for money. Bearing in mind most of these trips you've got to pay for, you got to pay for. So
yes, yep.
And can I just add, the 2 Whare Toa representations were outstanding, and I think Bernard will will back me up on this. That was absolutely a masterstroke. Having those 2 people from 2 Whare Toa really gave it some grunt as well. But
positive feedback from them as well.
Specifics of the dates and the timings are not too. We found out when we found out. So, yep. But the original date wasn't. We could not attend, so they came back with another date, which we managed to fit into the diary. So out Sunday night and Friday night.
So effectively, when you first got that invitation dated around the 20th or 21st of March, was it changed after that?
Yes.
Okay, it was changed after that, okay.
Absolutely.
But you had that invitation then, but we didn't hear about it till the 9th. Forget when you were actually going to go, things would change. We weren't advised as councillors.
Because we said no at that stage.
No, you're missing my point, Mr Chairman. If it came in March, why were we told in April whether you went? Even in June, for instance, that wouldn't matter. We weren't told.
Well, I can't answer. We did the timing as things were potentially confirmed.
Through the Chief. I just don't understand there's so much prescription around the whole blooming thing. There was an opportunity to go to China, economic benefits, it was the time frame, okay, do not see even, it was relevant to even discuss it around the council chamber, given the time frame, and given what Chloe was saying about historically what does happen with these arrangements. Surely got some flexibility when they come to these sort of arrangements with, if we're trying to look at developing the local economy, we can't sit on our hands and wait, have another meeting, discuss the blooming thing.
And thank you for the report.
Okay, thank you. Any other queries? Okay, there's a suggested resolution there that the important, and please, if anyone's got any more questions or anything like that, Will is available, as he said, and also Bernard. I'd like to thank Bernard as well. publicly for your support. Could I have a move for the resolution? Thanks. Thank you, Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, item number 15. Tina.
I don't have